Talking baseball, baseball and the
Welcome back, Birdland, to another episode of the Talkin Orioles Baseball Podcast. I am, of course, your host, Benny Becker. Thrilled as always, gang, to be sitting down here with you, talking Orioles baseball. 3 down, 159 to go. That is the episode name. We are back in Camden County Studios today, coming off of our live episode from the Inner Harbor in Baltimore Thursday morning before opening day. It was a special place to have an episode, gang. Very epic background and situation just for me to be in. It was awesome. I loved it. Be on the lookout in the future for more episodes from the Inner Harbor, because it was cool, gang. Very special. Also special, I want to give a special thank you to our close friends, John and Jane. Once again, took me and my wife to opening day, becoming a yearly tradition for us. They're like family, so we love to spend time with them, but also we love when that time is at Orioles games. And gang, we had a blast. It was absolutely epic the entire time. We had a blast, gang. Nothing else I can say. We might be trying to pull off a road trip up to New York to see our O's take on the Yanks a little down the road, but that is in the works. We'll see if we can pull it off for you. Who knows where we do a live episode there? Central Park or something along those lines. Who knows, gang? We'll figure it out. On today's episode, we have a great one. Going to recap the Twins series, tell you the takeaways we have from that series early into this season, the return of Orioles magic, the extension with Shane Baz, the Orioles being open for business, and a whole lot more. But before we get into that, make sure you're tuning in every Monday and Thursday as we have new episodes coming out twice a week this entire season, gang. And be on the lookout on social media as we are always pumping out Orioles content at Talkin Orioles Baseball, Instagram, TikTok. Be on the watch, gang, because you never know what I'm going to jump on and say. Want to have a conversation with y'all as well. A lot of fun stuff in this episode. A lot of fun stuff for this show and this program and this experience that we are building, gang. A lot down the pipeline that we have coming to you later this season. So I'm very excited for what's to come. And most importantly, I'm very excited about our Orioles and where we are at. 3 down, 159 to go. And that's where we stand right now, gang. So we're going to jump right into the Twin Series recap. Orioles win the series 2-1. It came down to a rubber match, and it was all because of the first 2 games that happened in the series, of course. Game 1, we wound up with a 2-1 victory. Before I get into the actual game, I want to just say that ballpark was electric on Thursday. The energy was palpable, gang. It was a fantastic experience. The ballpark was rocking. Everybody had a great positive energy to them. And it really translated to the ball club on the field. And the Orioles end up getting that victory. It was 0-0, a pitcher's duel headed into the bottom of the 7th. Trevor Rogers mostly shined. I'll say, mostly shined. Because you look at his stat line, 7 innings pitched, no runs given up, 5 Ks, 3 hits, 4 walks. You go, pretty nice stat line. And it was a pretty nice stat line. However, he did find himself getting into some tough situations throughout the game. Rogers, though, always found a way out of them. Whether that was by his doing or the defense stepping up and making the big play and getting him out of those jams. His strike-to-ball ratio was not ideal, had a 56 strike to 32 ball ratio. Really didn't ever seem to have his command perfect in that game. However, he was still getting a lot of positive results even with maybe slightly shaky command. I know in spring training he might have had a game or two canceled due to rain, or just maybe not getting in an extra inning or two when he wanted to. So that could absolutely be one of the reasons why he was slightly shaky with his command in that first game. However, the stuff absolutely was still there, looked filthy while he was out there. And he showed why we expect, and I expect, him to absolutely have a potential Cy Young season this year. Because he did not have his best stuff on Thursday. Definitely did not have his best command on Thursday. However, he was able to work himself out of jams, not get beat up, stay in the game through 7 innings, and really give you an ace-like performance, which is who I think Trevor Rogers is at this point, gang. That's why he got the opening day nod. He is our bona fide ace. And while right now it still might feel a little, not the most confident in calling him this bona fide ace, I think that by All-Star break, we're going to see a very different tone when it comes to the idea that Trevor Rogers is just an ace in this league, and luckily for us, he's our ace. Now, the offense only had 1 single and 3 walks through the first 6 innings. It was not a pretty offensive game for these Orioles, but they were grinding out bats, grinding out situations. In the 7th, Basallo led off with a seeing eye single through the infield, and then Tyler O'Neill singled, and the real key, and Alvarez pointed this out after and praised Basallo for it, is Samuel Basallo being able to make his way from first to third on that single. He really hustled the whole way, saw the ball off the bat perfectly, and was able to get into third, which allowed him to score on the Colton Cowser sac fly. Later in the inning with 2 outs, Blaze Alexander hit a 2-out RBI single, giving the Orioles a 2-0 lead. It was funny, my wife enjoys the Orioles and gets into it because I've gotten her into it. But as we're at the game, she's, talking to our family friend Jane more than maybe me and John are watching the game, which is understandable. No problem, no worries. But at that Blaze Alexander at bat, in fact, right before the pitch that he hit that single, she just shouted out, "Lock it in!" And sure enough, as soon as she did that, I go, oh, he's getting this knock. And sure enough, he does, drives in the run, 2-0 game Orioles. Twins end up adding 1 when Buxton got a triple, and then a sac fly scored him. In the 8th, Orioles up 2-1, headed into that 9th, and Helsley closed out the game, did give up a single, but struck out all 3 outs. Really dominating type stuff from Ryan Helsley, and we'll touch on that later. Game 2, we might breeze past a little simply because it was an Orioles loss, and that happens. 4-1, we end up losing. Bradish pitched okay, but certainly not his best game either. Similar to Trevor Rogers, his stat line certainly doesn't look as pretty as Rogers did, as it was only 4 2/3 innings, 2 earned runs, 3 runs on the day, 4 Ks, 2 hits, 3 walks, but a strike-to-ball ratio of 50-33. Just like Rogers, not where he wants to see it, but potentially similar reasoning as to why Bradish's command wasn't necessarily on point in that game. Also was pretty cold, windy, wasn't the easiest conditions to pitch in either. The offense also struggled, obviously, only managing 1 run in the game. The offense kept getting opportunities, but mostly failed in those big spots. In the first, we had the bases loaded with 2 outs, end up with no runs. In the 5th, we have 2 on with 2 outs, get no runs. In the 6th, we have bases loaded again with 2 outs, get no runs. In the 9th, we have a man on first with 1 out, no runs. Listen, the lone RBI went to Jeremiah Jackson, who truly has really, once again, looked good offensively. That's another topic that we're going to touch on a little later in this show. Orioles, like I said, fall in that game 4-1. In Game 3, the rubber match going in, It was Shane Baz day. Shane Baz got the start coming off his contract extension. That, again, we'll touch on later this episode. And Baz started out hot in the first. In the second, though, he did get beat up, giving up 4 to the Twins in that second inning. But he really recovered off of that. Ended up pitching 5 1/3 innings, only giving up those 4 runs. Had 4 Ks, 7 hits, no walks, and really only gave up 3 hits after that second inning. So again, really locking it back in, which is what you want to see from your starter. Not all these guys are going to get out unscathed through 7 innings like Trevor Rogers did on opening day, gang. You're going to give up runs sometimes. You're going to have a bad inning. It's about being able to refocus, reset yourself, go back out there and give a dominating performance from that point on, which is what we saw from Shane Baz, truly. In the Orioles, offensively, they rallied in the fourth with a Tyler O'Neill 3-run home run, first Oriole home run of the season. We expect a whole lot more to come. We've talked about that before. In the sixth, the O's took the lead on a Dylan Beavers 2 RBI double. Twins then tied it up in the seventh with Royce Lewis's solo home run off of Geraldo. It was the first pitch Geraldo came into the game and threw. Royce Lewis hit that home run. Geraldo then wound up getting himself into serious trouble, letting the bases get loaded. We bring in Rico Garcia, who, just like last season when he would come in these spots, got himself out of that bases loaded jam. Very thankful for Garcia in that spot, but also kind of a trend in this game, as we'll see later. The O's took back the lead in the bottom of the seventh on an Alonso RBI single. It was his first RBI of his Orioles career. We haven't seen the extra base and home runs yet from him. However, we have seen him making contact, getting on base, and now driving in a run. Followed up by Adley pinch hitting with an RBI double to drive in yet another run. Not only was it a pinch hit opportunity for Adley, but he did it on the first pitch, which, if you know anything about Adley Rutschman, he never swings at the first pitch. And it's a fantastic sign already this season, seeing him be aggressive in certain situations on that first pitch. And really, that pinch hit opportunity to drive in another run, that's the type of opportunity where you want to see him be open to swinging on that first pitch. When it's first inning, when you're leading off the third or the second, whatever it may be, I don't need him swinging at that first pitch. I'm okay him getting deep into account. But sometimes in those pressure situations, we need to see Adley attack that ball. It brings me back to a couple years ago in one of the playoff games. Adley had a moment where it was a big at-bat late in the game. I don't have the exact moment written down, but I remember it vividly. And it was one of these situations where you go, he's going to groove him a fastball and he needs to jump on it. And he did. And Adley just took the pitch like Adley does on the first pitch. And it was one of those where you're like, this is the moment where you don't do that. Where you have to be aggressive and go after it. Hopefully Adley has learned the lesson of when he does not watch the first pitch. Or at least is open to not watching that first pitch. Obviously, if it's a ball, you want him to spit on it. But if it's a strike, if it's right down the middle, if it's something you can do damage with, that's when you unload. And frankly, he almost hit a dinger on that. It really hit up halfway up the wall and easily could have been a home run. After that, it was eventually followed up by an RBI single for Kobe Mayo, which made it 8-5 Orioles. In the eighth, Tyler Wells came in and let up one and got himself also into a bases-loaded jam. Cano had to come in with 2 outs and shut the door, get the Orioles out of that crucial spot. In the ninth, Helsley comes in again, but not easily gets the save. Did get the save, not easily. He allowed a single and a tough line drive to left that Taylor Ward was luckily able to get to. He then struck out a man, Looked like then got a ground ball that was about to end the game. Gunnar misplays it, kicks off his glove, and then the next batter finally flies out to end the game. Orioles win. Main part of that story from our standpoint is different than maybe the national standpoint. We'll talk about all the things that we took away, including from that game in that whole Twin series. But when you just look at that game 3, the national story is really that there were double-digit challenges on balls and strikes in that game. Some really big ones, too, coming into play in the 9th. One of them even resulted in the Twins manager getting ejected from the game for arguing that Helsley didn't tap his hat quick enough. He definitely tapped it pretty quick. And do I know the exact seconds that it has to be done in? No, I don't even think anybody does. I don't think it's written down. Ultimately, though, it was entertaining, and so far, the replay has actually been pretty fun, gang. It happens quick, it happens on the spot, you get the visual, and you get a huge crowd reaction when it goes your way. So, it's kind of fun. I don't mind the challenge system so far, and certainly in that Game 3, it played a major impact, frankly, for both teams. Alright, so things we've already learned in this season, okay? Coming out of just one series, some things to me are very evident, and we're going to touch on that. The first being that new manager Craig Alpernez is going to be very aggressive with lineup moves in the game. Now, in the first game, he didn't make any lineup changes. He just kept 1 through 9 how they were the whole game. But in both Saturday and Sunday, he used 3 bench players in each of those games, and clearly is not afraid to bring in a second reliever during an inning. Look at Rico Garcia getting brought in to get us out of that bases loaded jam. Look at Yennier Cano getting brought in to get us out of that bases loaded jam. He's not one of these managers, clearly, that's going to worry about bringing a guy in with the bases loaded or in a sticky situation, just like he's not going to worry about, hey, I need to save him for later or whatever. Obviously, there's some strategy to it, and certain situations may call for you going, I want to see if this guy can get himself out of this. But I also love how he's not afraid to make adjustments, make a move, kind of go with his gut or the stats or whatever it may be. Again, that Adley Rutschman pinch hit double really was a situation that showed he's not afraid to pull the trigger and really utilize his bench. He has a team that's filled with impact players and a bench that is also pretty much filled with at least potentially impacting players. Blaze Alexander, Jeremiah Jackson, potentially Adley Rutschman like that one game. There are certain situations, Ryan Mountcastle, where you're going to have these pretty reliable names on the bench, and you're going to use them in certain situations. So that's one thing that I've already taken away, is that Albie isn't scared to kind of play with his pieces at hand. Albie also is, quote, always down for the boys. You gotta love seeing that with the manager. After the first win on Thursday, the Orioles brought him into the clubhouse, and he ended up getting thrown in a laundry cart, wheeled into the shower, and doused with beers. Tyler Wells asked him kind of before if he was okay with it, and his response was, quote, I'm always down for the boys. So this is just one of the guys, one of the boys. And he just truly seems to be a leader who can be one of those boys while also holding them accountable. Just being able to be real and straight with these guys, but also being able to joke around, have fun, be loose, enjoy the clubhouse atmosphere, and add to that clubhouse atmosphere. I know there's been a lot being made about kind of one of his phrases that he's locked onto this season, which is day one. He has it written in the clubhouse. He has it talking about it all the time. And he talked about how a lot of people say, hey, one day we're going to be champions. One day I'm going to win an MVP. One day I'll be this or that. One day we'll do this. And he says, completely flip them around, and it flips around really the meaning. Day one means you're starting something great. You're already doing it. You know you're going to do it, and you're starting now, day one. And frankly, each day is its new day one. Because you have to be persistent. You have to be consistent at putting in the work and believing the right things. And so I absolutely love the term day one that Albie has instilled in this team. Truly already, after just 3 games, feels like we found a gem of a manager and a guy who's going to be managing here for a very long time. And I'll just say it, potentially our next World Series caliber manager we found in Craig Albertaz, gang. Special stuff. The next takeaway is that this lineup is very deep. We kind of touched on it before, but most of the damage in that series came from the middle or bottom of our order. Not even the top name guys, the Hendersons, the Alonsos, the Wards. They contributed at times, but most of those damage moments, most of those impact moments came from middle of the order to bottom of the order players. It's the type of lineup where anybody can burn you, and there's nowhere that feels safe for these pitchers. Especially once you get in one of those innings where some guys get on, a couple singles get through the infield, then you're looking at this lineup going, I'm in trouble. Because I'm facing the bottom, and they're not easy. And right after them are some of the best players in baseball. So it's just filled with guys that find ways to make things happen too. We already saw that in these first 3 games. In game 1, finding a way to get on the scoreboard. And not only one, but get that insurance run in as well in that inning that the Orioles scored. In game 2, yeah, they fell short. They didn't capitalize on their moments, but they were still getting themselves on base, giving themselves a chance to capitalize in those moments, which frankly, something you're not always going to succeed, but if you continue to give yourself those opportunities, you're going to succeed more often than not. And in that game 3, just never going away. They fell behind 4-0 early. They didn't let it discourage them like last season would have. They come back, they get the lead, they give up the lead almost immediately, and then they get it right back immediately, add the insurance, never give up on this game, and also never lose focus even after the Twins show they're not going to go easy into the night. You stick with it, you find a way to get those 27 outs and win that ball game. And frankly, gang, this lineup is not even at full strength yet. Who knows if we get Jordan Westburg back, but Jackson Holliday is going to be back shortly. And when you add him to this lineup, it is just another dangerous piece to play with, gang. We can do this with the long ball, or we can do it with small ball. That's the type of lineup we have. Just look no farther than Pete Alonso, who again has yet to have an extra base hit, yet to have a home run. But yet he's been contributing with singles, just finding a way. Gunnar Henderson started off the season not being able to get on base even when he hit the ball hard. Ends up getting his first hit with a little blooper off the end of the bat. So it's just one of these things we're going to find a way, whether it's with the small ball or the long ball. And let me tell you, once the season gets going and these guys start feeling good, that long ball is going to come. And I don't think the small ball is going anywhere, gang. And this is what we talked about going into the season, that the Orioles have one of the best lineups in baseball, top to bottom. Potentially the best. Potentially the best. When we speak about the lineup, another thing that stood out to us is just how aggressive their approach has been so far this season. I know the broadcast crew was talking heavily about that on Sunday, and it's true. You've seen that there's this deliberately aggressive approach at the plate. Seems like the new hitting coaches really want these guys to go after pitches early. And like we talked about, even Adley Rutschman swinging at the first pitch in that pinch hit situation and nearly hitting a home run on it, but either way having a huge base knock as the result, just shows that there's definitely situations where swinging at that first pitch is going to be the best opportunity you have to get a real base knock. Now, it won't be that way for every game, and they're going to figure out, depending on matchups and teams and situations, whether this is an aggressive game or whether maybe we'll be more patient. Now, especially in games 1 and 3, they were absolutely aggressive. We saw in game 2, again, maybe they get a little more patient. There's more strikeouts. I think it's something that Albernez and this coaching staff is going to play with over time, and it's not just going to be linear. It's not going to be like, hey, this is working, so we're never going to deviate. No, again, there's going to be a situation where you go, hey, we're facing Garrett Crochet today. We need him to throw pitches. We want him to get out of the game no more than 6 innings. Or no less than 6 innings, or however you phrase that in the way context I'm saying it. Either way, you want to get him out of the game as early as possible. So we're going to be a little more patient. And we're going to understand that, yeah, we might strike out more, but we need his pitch count to go up. But also, it's a game of chess, gang. So they might look at it and go, Garrett Crochet is going to think that we're going to be patient in this game to get his pitch count up, and we're just going to attack him. And if he's leaving the ball over the plate early, we're going to do damage until he adjusts, and then we adjust. So it's a game of chess, gang. This is the beauty of baseball. But certainly, coming into the season, it seems like the Orioles at least want the pendulum to be swung towards aggressive more than passive. Now, it's not all rainbows and butterflies, dude. It really isn't. The bullpen is absolutely going to be a little shaky, at least for the beginning. This is also a unit that isn't 100% yet. We know that Andrew Kittredge and Keegan Aiken right now are on the IL. So those are 2 big arms for this bullpen. So we're going to see what we have in a lot of these make or break kind of relievers. We've seen some good, we've seen some bad. A guy like Tyler Wells really has had 2 not great outings in his 2 appearances so far. However, I am a huge Tyler Wells believer. So I think that Wells can turn it around, can figure out how to be successful this season and be a very big part of this bullpen. But we'll see. The 2 lefties right now in the pen, Enns and Wolfram, have impressed me. Both of them have. So I feel pretty good at the moment without having Keegan Aiken and just having those 2. Leads me to believe that probably whenever Aiken gets back, we might run all 3 of them out of the bullpen because all 3 are really good guys. And we know that Aiken and Enns are kind of those reverse split guys that we trust more getting out righties along with lefties. Whereas Grant Wolfram is really that lefty killer. If you have 1 or 2 big lefties coming up in that lineup, you might want to throw Wolfram in there because lefties look like they are lost trying to hit Grant Wolfram. Either way, it's an interesting group of guys, and there's a lot of potential and a lot of talent, but it's going to be a little rocky at times, gang. So hang in there when it comes to the bullpen. This is certainly something that is not a finished product at the moment, and we'll figure out what we need to do. Add, change, whatever it may be, to get that bullpen working properly. But the last thing that really I took note of from that series, and it goes right hand in hand with the bullpen, is that Ryan Helsley is absolutely legit, gang. Now, again, I'm not surprised. The last 3 seasons, I've been calling for the Orioles to trade for Ryan Helsley. This season, we went out and signed him, and I was thrilled. I told you this, a guy I've wanted as an Oriole for years now. And I understand that he had issues with the Mets last season. But it looks like he is putting that well in the past, and it clearly has not hindered him or his confidence going into this season. In spring training, too, some people were a little worried his fastball was sitting more in the mid 90s rather than 100, 102, like we've been seeing so far this season. And again, we've been seeing it this season, gang. He's back to throwing over 100, so that is phenomenal, considering, again, his velo was slightly lower in spring training. When the lights are bright, his arm comes to play, and it's a beautiful thing. Certainly looks as though we have a lockdown closer once again, and it's just a great feeling as a ball club to have a guy for that ninth inning that you go, not only is he extremely talented, but boy do we trust him with the ball every single time in those moments. Yeah, there will be a moment or two where he blows a save, gang. It's going to happen. It's a long season. But there is every chance that Ryan Helsley could be the closer or reliever of the year. The Rolaids reliever of the year. Ryan Helsley coming your way this season. So those are really the takeaways from the first series that I had, gang. And our next topic, I guess, is a bit of a takeaway as well, and something we predicted coming into the season, which is Orioles magic is back. It is back, baby. The vibes of Orioles magic have returned to this ball club. Finding ways to make things happen and get the wins, whether it's pretty or not, whether it's offensive or pitching, defense, however it needs to be done, finding the ways to win ball games. And even in the loss that we had in game 2, again, they just created moments that they just weren't able to capitalize. But certainly there were the vibes of Oriole magic happening all throughout that game. And just one or two base knocks more, and we would have had another comeback victory this season. Last year's failures truly feel long in the past, and it's great that we're putting that behind us, because this is a team who won't give up on games. Even if we fall behind early, especially. This is a team who still believes, night in, night out, we can come back. I don't care how many runs they got, we can get more. Whether it happens or not, that's just baseball. It's not always going to happen. But truly, I feel like this is a special team that is filled with Orioles magic. Beautiful thing, gang. Beautiful thing. Another beautiful thing is we have yet another Orioles extension. Shane Baz, the Wizard of Baz, signing a 5-year, $68 million extension. It's going to cover his last 3 years of arbitration, including this year, and his first 2 free agent years that are so coveted to get locked up by one of these great young players or exciting young players. Is it risky? Yeah, sure. But it's absolutely a risk worth taking. When you average out the money, it's about $13.6 million a year. Very reasonable for an exciting, electric, elite stuff kind of young pitcher. Sure, and it wasn't for 9 figures. It wasn't for double-digit years. And given that he's a pitcher who has amazing ability, elite stuff, and he's still just 26, it is a major, major win, gang. Again, just a 5-year extension. Really, he would have been here most likely for 3 anyway. So we're just getting an extra 2 years. Plus, we've already invested in him by the prospects we gave up. We gave some pretty serious big-name prospects up, and we've touched on how I actually think that the prospects we gave up maybe aren't as great as they're highly regarded right now. I think maybe they're too highly regarded, if you will. But ultimately, it was still a haul, especially a haul of very interesting, exciting young talent to give up for a guy. So we've already invested in him. We might as well invest a little more. And frankly, if he goes out and has a tremendous year this year or next year, we would be paying a lot of money to him in arbitration, gang. So that's the irony. He still had 2 more arbitration years after this year. Certainly his salary was set going into this year at this point, but the next 2, again, are up for grabs. So if he balls out, we're going to want him back, and arbitration might set his salary very, very high. In which case, we may have had to pay him essentially $68 million or close to it just for the next 2 years. That's absolutely reasonable, and maybe $68 million would be excessive for the next 2 years. He would have to truly be unhittable this season to get himself to that point, but it's reasonable to expect that just in the 2 years of arbitration, we would have been paying at least 20, if not possibly 30 million a year to this guy. Now, we believe he's a front-end starter, and if he lives up to that, again, it's going to be a bargain that we got. Even if he winds up just as a number 3 starter, it still might be below market value and a good bargain for this deal. Ultimately, the money is backloaded. He's going to get 5 this year, 7 next year, 10 the year after, 21 in 29, and 25 in 2030. So, it's one of these things where, sure, it may be kind of set in a manner where you probably maybe didn't save any money, but at the very least you got him locked up for that period of time. And you feel very comfortable paying that amount of money for Shane Baz over the course of the next 5 years. This is a guy who was an elite high school prospect pitching for Team USA, first round pick. He has the pedigree. And he's a guy that Mike Elias talked about when he was with Houston. Baz was a Houston kid coming up through high school and was a guy that was being talked about a lot in that area. So this is a guy that Mike Elias has had his eyes on since Shane Baz was a high school player. It's exciting, gang. Again, the elite stuff, just 26 years old. The sky's the limit for this kid. He has just only began how to figure out how to pitch in this league. And it's exciting that we have the opportunity to see him blossom as a Baltimore Oriole. And when you wonder about Shane Baz, all you got to do is hear his quotes from the press conference. When he says, quote, he's a guy that's going to give you everything he has every time he's on the field. And he does everything at 110%. He's a guy who strives to be the best, strives to do great work. And it's very exciting that we have Shane Baz now for 5 years. And maybe what's most exciting is what it signals, which is what our next topic is. To quote Rubenstein, the Orioles are open for business. He said they are very serious about investing in this roster. Quote, we are open for business, of course. We're interested in doing the best we can for this team. We have the resources necessary to do this with others who are interested in this. We're certainly all ears. So not only is he willing to put out the money, but he's willing to put out the idea that, hey, we want to keep a lot of you. We want to do this with a lot of you. So if you're interested in it, let's get a deal done. Already, though, it's since August, the Orioles have signed 3 of the 6 most expensive contracts by this franchise in its history. Very exciting, obviously. Basello, Alonso, and now Baz. For sure, looking to lock in more of this core. When you hear some of the quotes from the guys, Gunnar talks about how he's, quote, open ears to a contract extension. How Rogers is, quote, I'm all for it. And to quote Cowser, quote, I would definitely listen. These are guys that are getting more and more excited, not just in the money that they see in front of potentially their eyes and other guys getting, but you see just how the Orioles are investing not just in the roster, but in Camden Yards, in Sarasota. We are trying to add every piece to make this the best franchise possible. So why would you not want to stay here, gang? Why would you not want to be a part of not only what we're building, but eventually what we have built? There's a real possibility, too, that we can continue adding extensions to this core and ensuring that that window remains open for as long as possible. These are very exciting days to be an Orioles fan, gang. Certainly, I question if a Boris client like Gunnar Henderson or Jackson Holliday would actually sign an extension. I know Gunnar said he's open ears, but that doesn't necessarily mean his agent's open ears, and he might just be open ears to get excited about what he hears and not actually interested in signing before free agency. Either way, I don't hate the idea with the Orioles continuing to push to try and extend not only Gunnar, but Jackson, Rogers, Cowser, Adley, really everybody and anybody, gang. You might even be able to get another Boris client, Jordan Westberg, to a pretty reasonable extension right now due to the fact that he's dealing with all of these injuries. I think, though, name like Rogers has a real chance at being the next extension that gets done. Something around, let's say, 5 for 150. I think not only would that make sense for Rogers, but it would make sense for the Orioles. And we're going to talk and touch more about this, not necessarily on this episode, but in the days to come, maybe some social media videos on it. But I think Rogers is the next one that not only we could match an offer that he would be excited for, but also that he would be open to getting the extension done now as opposed to waiting till after the end of the year in free agency. I also heard some making the point that the Orioles may have learned a lesson from Gunnar Henderson not getting him extended earlier, maybe even before we even brought him up. However, I question if they ever could have wound up getting that deal done even at that point. Again, Gunnar is a Boris client. Boris clients typically hit free agency. So who knows? I doubt we could have gotten it done, but I think the Orioles probably weren't in a position then to try and extend Gunnar Henderson. Again, that was the old ownership group. That was some older front office, and ultimately they weren't able to get a deal done if they were even trying. So, ultimately, gang, it is exciting that the Orioles are open for business. And let's have belief that we can keep this core going. Now, another exciting new topic I've been thrilled about. There was all this talk down in Sarasota of what's the Orioles' new celebration going to be? Is it going to still be this water park, water theme, I should say, celebrations, or are we going to switch it up? I know last year then they brought in the football helmet. Towards the end of the year, there was some other stuff going on other than waterworks. And certainly, we still have the bird bath. I love that. But the team celebration doesn't have to be built around water just because of the bird bath. It plays without that. So, the new celebration, gang, is awesome. I am huge on it. It is little wings. And you can really play around with it, gang. Some go high, some go low, some keep it simple, some really get exaggerated. It is awesome. I love it. I love how it gives the guys some freedom to play with in the moment with their personality. It plays with the team, the wings, the birds. I love it. It's cool. I believe that it's probably not set in stone yet, and I also think maybe they have some to add on. But this is fun, gang. And I am all in favor of the wings this season. Now, let's talk about how we have Tyler O'Neill, Mr. Opening Day. One streak is done, unfortunately, while one streak remains. O'Neill failed to hit a home run in a 7th straight opening day. Gang, it was due to happen. It had to have happened. It had to have not happened, I should say, as hitting a home run in 6 straight opening days is just incomprehensible. He already set the record, I believe, at 5. Then, so last year at 6 was just a cherry on top. This year, obviously, he wanted it. He was swinging out of his shoes for it at some points, it looked like. But ultimately, didn't get the home run. What he did get, though, was on base and scored a run, which means it was his 7th straight opening day in which he scored a run. I believe he's only one of 12 guys in baseball history to have that kind of streak. Do not know what the record is. Might be 7, it might be 17. I don't know. But still a very impressive feat, and while one streak died, another streak lived. And so we'll see next opening day if Tyler O'Neill can score a run for an 8th straight year. And also, how cool is it that he still was the first Oriole to hit a home run this season? Just happened in Game 3 of the season instead of Game 1. So, he was right there, essentially. But still, gotta love, honestly, what we have in Tyler O'Neill moving forward this season. And it's very exciting. And ultimately, his streak was one that, again, he had already been the record holder. Last year was a cherry on top. And it's okay that it ends. It's okay that good things can come to an end sometimes, and this one did. Now we're going to talk about a little discussion we touched on towards the end of last week in a video, but who will get sent down once Jackson Holliday is back? It's probably still a week, maybe 2 away until we see Holliday activated to the Major League roster, but he's already doing his AAA rehab assignment. And ultimately, the decision is going to come down, I think, to one of 2 names. Either Jeremiah Jackson or Leody Taveras. Ultimately, the easy decision, I would say, would be Jeremiah Jackson. The idea of, hey, let's keep that extra outfielder, that extra center fielder. We already have guys that can kind of play around the infield. That's all right. We can handle that. We're bringing back an infielder, so it only makes sense that we send down mostly an infielder. But something interesting I noticed, which is in Game 3 of this series, Dylan Beaver was starting center fielder for us. It was his first start in the majors at center field. And while he didn't look amazing, he had that one moment where he lost the ball in the sun, ball dropped, error. Nothing came of it, luckily. Certainly could have. But every other play, he didn't look the most comfortable, but he played decent enough and got to the ball. So I think that might be a signal that the Orioles might be trusting Dylan Beavers more than maybe we think as the backup center fielder. In that case, Jeremiah Jackson absolutely is the guy who should stay on this team. Already we've seen this year him continue this electric, energetic play that we get from Jeremiah Jackson, coming up in clutch situations time and time again. He's a young player who I would love to see really stay on this roster. And I think he has a serious chance just because it seems like the organization really trusts Dylan Beavers potentially playing center field in a backup capacity. So we'll see what happens between Taveras or Jackson. I'm rooting Jackson. I'm pulling Jackson. I think he is the better player. He's the better hitter. He's the more clutch player. And he's just the guy I want on this roster, gang. But it's interesting moving forward to see what the Orioles decide with that. I think it's a coin flip at this point if you were to ask them. Now, one of our last topics, a topic I've been so excited to touch on and probably will touch on a few more times in the days to come, but that is Kobe Mayo, defensive wizard. This kid is all over the field. Kobe Mayo having 3 double plays started in this first series, all of which on different kind of plays. The first one was in Game 1, just an unbelievable diving snag and a great job of delivering the throw to second on time, enabling them to turn the double play in a huge situation. It was a sticky situation that Kobe Mayo got them out of. The second one was a little more textbook, just turn to second and throw. Meanwhile, the third one, the runner that was on second was running unnecessarily, probably a mistake. Kobe Mayo was able to tag him out, whether he tugged him, whether he exited the line, whether either happened, I don't know, but the man got called out. And then Kobe delivered a perfect throw to first base to finish off that double play. We saw another play where he kind of went into the netting on the third base foul area and caught a ball again in a situation that the O's desperately needed an out in. this defense is looking pretty good from Kobe Mayo. And listen, gang, I'm not saying the guy's going to be perfect over there. He's not going to be Brooks Robinson out of nowhere. But if he can just continue playing this defense for the most part, it's a beautiful thing. And it truly has given him immediate confidence already this early into this season, gang. Obviously, everybody expected the bat to play for Kobe Mayo. And while it didn't early in his career, it looks like that is starting to play. We were all kind of holding our breath to see how the defense would play. So for right off the bat, instantly, us to get hit with these really nice looking defensive moments, gang, Kobe Mayo might never give back that third base spot, even when Jordan Westburg comes back. It's a great sign, and it looks like he has turned the corner in his career. Maybe possibly going to be getting the best Kobe Mayo possible, which would say a lot because Kobe Mayo has the potential, gang, to be an Austin Riley type player. An impact bat who can also play a decent defense. And so far, offensively this season, he did have 2 hits in the finale, but he didn't have a hit in either of the first 2 games. So it was one of these things, those defensive plays really instilled so much confidence in him, despite the fact that maybe some base knocks weren't dropping. Because he was hitting the ball hard, but he just couldn't seem to find a hit in those first 2 games. Certainly got off the schneid, got those 2 hits in that game 3. But again, the defense just really shining and giving him this renewed sense of confidence was a great thing. All right, gang. So, looking forward to this next series that starts tonight. We're facing the Texas Rangers again in Camden Yards. When you look at the pitching matchups, tonight we get Jack Leiter versus Chris Bassett. Leiter is definitely a nice little prospect for these Rangers. Obviously, has been in the majors for a few seasons now. He's looking good, but I'm very excited to see what we get from the veteran Chris Bassett, the elderman Chris Bassett, this game. Now, next game, we know we're pitching Zach Eflin. Rangers right now, TBD. I think it's going to be Kumar Rocker we're going to face, which is a guy who could be tough to hit, or also a guy who maybe doesn't make it out of the second inning. So be on the watch for maybe an Orioles blowout in that one. Game 3, again, TBD from the Rangers. I would expect opening day starter Nathan Eovaldi to pitch. And we got our opening day starter, our ace, Trevor Rogers. Rangers are 2-1 coming into the series. Played in Philly to begin the year. Game 1, they lost 5-3. Didn't score until the 9th. Game 2, they won 5-4 in extras. Got one of their runs in extras on a wild pitch. And in Game 3, they dominated 8-3 all game and benefited also from some bad defensive plays from Philly. Listen, Rangers are an interesting team and a team that can certainly be impressive. A team that you can be scared off by. But it still remains to be seen what kind of team the Rangers are going to be this season. I think it's going to be yet another tough series. Probably 2-1, one way or the other, coming down to a rubber match in that last game. Or who knows? Maybe the O's take the first 2 and we're going for a sweep in that third game. That sounds better to me. So let's go with that. O's win the first 2 going into Game 3. Potentially sweep, potentially come away just with the series victory. Either way, I'm excited to see what we get. And obviously that game's going to start tonight. Very last topic. You know we like to end on a positive note, a fun note. Well, I got to bring up that 109-year-old veteran who threw out the first pitch at Camden Yards on Thursday. Arthur Green, 109 years old. Years young, I should say. Throwing out that first pitch. The man truly looks like he's not a day over 80, gang. The fact that he's 109, incredible. Wearing his jersey with the 109 on it, you gotta love it. Walked out to the field without a walker. I know he uses a walker in his personal life and throughout this stadium, the ballpark, but walked onto the field without a walker, just his daughter helping him, I believe. This is incredible. This is incredible, gang. Like, listen to some of the things that to put this into perspective. 109. He was born during World War One, fought in both World War II and the Korean War, so appreciate his service so much. He was born during the Ottoman Empire. I don't even know really what that is, but it just sounds old, gang. Just a couple years after scheduled commercial flights had begun, and those are really just a small thing. Like, the major airlines hadn't even begun yet when he was born. Babe Ruth was still pitching for the Red Sox when this man was born. He was alive for the production of every single car. The Model T was created in 1927, almost a decade after he was born. Incredible. He's old. He was old enough to run for president. Listen to this. The man was old enough where he could have run for president when the St. Louis Browns became the Baltimore Orioles. Meaning that he is 36 years older than this iteration of the Baltimore Orioles. That's incredible, gang. Conceivably, I think, I don't know if this is an exact stat, but conceivably, if he retired at 65 years old, that means he would have retired just 3 years after we landed on the moon. He essentially has been alive for over 70% of all professional baseball games. A game that has been around forever. He's been alive for 70% of the games. Truly, God bless this man. God bless Arthur Green. One of a kind, gang. I am blown away. He had a good pitch, too. Like, frankly, you give my mom a ball, she might not throw it any better than Arthur Green. You give my wife a ball, she might not throw it any better than Arthur Green. Heck, in a year or two, you might give me a ball, and I might not throw it any better than Arthur Green. That's how bad my shoulder is. And this man got it like halfway to home plate. Incredible stuff, gang. Truly incredible stuff. So excited that the season is back, and I'm just relishing in it, gang. I'm just having fun. I'm having a blast. We're back in Camden County Studios after going live from the Inner Harbor in Baltimore. It was so fun. I'm excited. 3 games into the season, 159 to go, gang. Let's get it. Let's go, O's.